Hey everyone, and welcome back to another daily stand-up video. So since the last episode, I've updated this to-do file with a few things. We need to install Axios. For our client, we need to set up a backend, which we're going to be interacting with as an API. I'm going to be using FastAPI for that. We will want to integrate our front end with our backend, of course, but not today. And eventually I want to Dockerize the project too, so it would just be easier to deploy. So I decided the first thing we should probably do is set up a backend. Again, we're going to use FastAPI, and I started by just doing my usual, just setting up a virtual environment, and then inside that virtual environment I decided to install Poetry, because it is now, since PEP 621, it is standard practice to include a PyProject.toml file, and Poetry allows us to do that. I can leave a link in the description, but basically it just makes it easier for us to manage our packages. And it makes it easier for anyone else, of course, because all of our project metadata will be in that toml file and people will be able to look at that. So yeah, we basically just use Poetry now to manage all of our packages. We can even use it to create a requirements file, which we'll then later probably use in like our Docker file when we're installing stuff. But anyway, I think for the time being I just installed Unicorn, which we basically use to start our server locally, and FastAPI, which is what we're using, of course. And I've only actually used Poetry once before, and it wasn't really set up by me. Not that it's that difficult to set up or anything, so I was just messing around with it a little bit. But yeah, it seems pretty simple to use. You just add your package, you don't have to specify a version if you don't want to, it will just figure it out, which is quite nice. And like I said, we can use that to generate our requirements file. So if you've used requirements files before, then it's just that. I think if you're working by yourself, although this is like correct practice now, it's probably fine to just use a requirements file and just install from there. But anyway, I thought we'd do it correctly. Cool, so we've got our front end from the last video where we created the Hangman game, and it's not brilliant, of course. What we really want to do is query the backend, and it generates a random word for us, and then we have to guess the word. So obviously we need an API of some sort, so I had a little look around, and I just found this one. And yeah, so it has a link for a random word, and we were just going to be querying that essentially. But for this video, we're literally just going to be sending up the endpoint and just making sure that it works, rather than integrating it with our front end. Cool, so then I created a little main.py file where we're just going to put our API endpoints for the time being. So we created a getRandomWord endpoint with that URL that I just showed you a moment ago. And yeah, we're literally just querying that, and then when we start our server, and then just refresh, well, we'll go to localhost, and then we just keep refreshing. Every time we do that, we get a new word. So that's essentially how our endpoint would work, and we would send that to the front end. So you can see we're getting a fetch word. So yeah, I mean, I think for the purpose of this video, that's it. Please leave a like. I'm really busy in real life, so I feel like the more likes I get and stuff like that, the more time I can commit to these videos, because I'd like to do more of them. But yeah, leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching. Oh, and actually, just one last thing, if you have any ideas of features you want me to implement, just put them in the comments section, or join my streams. I kind of stream every morning, and just like speak to me there, whatever you want to do. But yeah, that's it really.